It all 21 number one hits, 22 Grammys, the golden voice of country music. But in 2000, he did something that turned half his fans against him. He married Amy Grant. Both had just divorced their spouses. The Christian community called it adultery. Radio stations banned their music. Protesters showed up at his concerts with hate signs. 25 years later, the health problems keep coming. At 67, the man who had everything is watching it slip away. Vince Gill was born on April 12, 1957 in Norman, Oklahoma, into a home where law and music collided in the strangest way. His father, a federal judge, could also play the banjo, guitar, and harmonica like a seasoned bluegrass veteran. Sometimes after courtroom sessions, Judge Gill would come home and jump into late-night jam sessions with his wife Jiren, who played harmonica too. His journey began on April 12, 1957 in Norman, Oklahoma, in a household where law and music existed in an unusual harmony. His father, a federal judge, could also play the banjo, guitar, and harmonica like a seasoned bluegrass musician. And sometimes after long days in court, Judge Gill would return home and join his wife Jerry in late-night jam sessions. She too could play the harmonica, and the sound of their music often drifted through the house and out into the neighborhood. Vince would lie in bed listening to the melodies carrying down the hallway, and neighbors still remember those warm summer evenings when guitars and harmonas poured into the street. That unique mixture of courtroom seriousness and front porch musical joy left an indelible mark on Vince's heart. Still, his childhood was not without hardship. Born with crossed eyes, Gill endured 2 painful corrective surgeries, and even afterward, his left eye would wander when he was tired or upset. He began wearing glasses not only to see better, but also to mask the condition that made him self-conscious. Schoolmates teased him relentlessly, and the constant ridicule led him to withdraw from social life. Rather than seeking out friendships, he retreated into music, locking himself away with his guitar. It wasn't so much running from the world as it was building a new one for himself. That refuge became even more important when at the age of 10, tragedy struck. His half-brother Bob was in a horrific car accident on a rainy Oklahoma highway, suffering brain damage so severe that he could no longer remember people's names. For more than 25 years, Bob required round-the-clock care, forcing Judge Gill to take on extra legal work to cover the expenses. The strain on the family was immense and Vince watched his parents' marriage crumble under the pressure. Bob eventually died in 1993 from a heart attack linked to his injuries, and the grief never fully left Vince. Later, he admitted that losing his brother had taught him the true meaning of loss, a lesson that would seep into his songs, the kind that made people cry quietly while driving alone. Music had been calling to him since early childhood. At just 5 years old, during a visit to his grandmother's house, Vince picked up her old acoustic guitar and began trying to play Old Shep. In less than 30 minutes, without a single lesson, he had figured out the chords and started singing. His grandmother was stunned and immediately phoned his parents to tell them she had just witnessed something extraordinary. By the time Vince turned 10, his family had pulled together enough money to buy him a Gibson ES-335 electric guitar, which costs nearly $800 in 1967, about $6,500 in today's currency. It was more than just a birthday gift. It was a declaration of his future. Vince was not just another kid strumming for fun. He was a musician in the making. Whenever tensions at home grew too much, he didn't lash out. He disappeared into that guitar, spending 6 to 8 hours a day practicing in the basement. Friends and family recall the sad haunting tones drifting through the walls. His music teacher later wrote that Vince had a deep aching quality in his playing, something far beyond his years. Pain was not something he spoke about openly. Instead, he translated it into melody. By high school, Gill had formed a bluegrass band called Mountain Smoke. And on March 4, 1976, they landed an unusual gig, opening for the rock band Kiss at the Oklahoma City Fairgrounds. The audience, primed for fire-breathing theatrics and leather-clad guitar shredders, was bewildered by the sight of a group playing fiddles and banjos. The boos began almost immediately, followed by cups, trash, and even shoes being thrown at the stage. Vince lost his composure, flipped off the crowd, mocked them, and stormed off. It was an embarrassing moment, but one he never forgot. Not long afterward, the band dissolved. Yet, Vince pressed on, moving to Kentucky to join Bluegrass Alliance. By 1977, he was performing with a group called Boone Creek alongside a young Ricky Skaggs, helping to push bluegrass into a more modern sound. The group recorded a single album in 1977 that, although not a commercial hit, later became a cult favorite among bluegrass fans. Later that same year, Gill moved to Los Angeles to join Sundance, a band led by fiddle virtuoso Byron Berlin, who had worked with legends like Bill Monroe and the Flying Burrito Brothers. Berlin demanded perfection, and Vince rose to the challenge, performing at the famous Palomino Club and rubbing shoulders with icons like Emmy Harris and Linda Ronstadt. Less than a year after being booed off stage in Oklahoma, Gill was now sharing the stage with Grammy-winning artists, a testament to his resilience. In September 1978, the country rock group Pure Prairie League was in crisis after losing its lead singer. 2 years earlier, they had noticed Gill when Mountain Smoke opened for them in Oklahoma City and even offered him a spot, but he had declined to stick with bluegrass. This time, when they asked,